Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Myron.
Hey, folks. How y'all doing? I had a great weekend at wrestling. We saw some great stuff, and we're glad to join y'all here today.
Well, man, hey, you mentioned the great weekend at wrestling. I know you're not going to say anything, so I'm going to say something. Our boy Myron got to sit in at commentary for NCW up at the world-famous Landmark Arena this Sunday. Did a little color there up there for those guys. If you're not familiar with the Landmark Arena, that is the real house that AJ Styles built. So I'm proud of you, man. I know you weren't going to say anything about it, though, were you?
I had an experience I'll never, ever, be able to recreate. I got to go backstage. I got to see how things are done at Landmark Arena, all the amount of technology and production they put into it. And I also got to meet some really great people up close. And everybody was super nice to me. I had a wonderful experience. I could not say just how great an experience I had with all the people and just getting to experience the Landmark Arena backstage and how things work, on top of getting to do commentary for the first time. I loved it. It was a great experience. I thank everybody. I really appreciate them for asking me to do that. And like I said, it was a phenomenal experience.
Well, like I said, I knew you weren't going to say anything about it. I just thought it was super cool. I obviously went to the show, got to watch it. Great show as always up there. Those guys up at the Landmark Arena, especially, NCW, always do a great show. Rick Michaels, Todd Sexton, those guys, man.
Tristan Michaels. They put a lot of work into production there. I'm telling you, what they do is serious. They work hard at it, and they turn a great production out. Ready to shoot TV right there. They've got everything set up. The technology is second to none. It is really impressive what all they've got and how much they put into producing shows there.
Well, and the cool thing is, and this is kind of, they didn't even ask us to plug, but so if your promotion's around in South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, et cetera, the southeast areas, if you're looking for a good place to put on a show, get in touch with them up there at the Landmark Arena, because it's basically completely set up and ready to go with, like you said, you can stream, they got people there that already stream. They come in and rent the building, stream to, Powerbomb TV and, all that kind of stuff. It's all set up, ready to go. The ring's there. You pretty much just come in and bring in the talent, boom, and book the show, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about anything else.
No, it's professional. It's set up. It's ready to go. Top of the line, everything. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of top of the line, man, and some guys who there's this little show, I don't know if you've heard about it, that ran this past weekend called All In.
Yeah.
These guys did a phenomenal job. I wanted to first and foremost tip our hat to Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks for doing a phenomenal job, pulling this off. But that's the thing. Pulling this off alone was an amazing feat.
Oh, God, yeah. They sold out a big venue, 10,000 seats. They put on a great promotion. They brought in talent, world-class talent. I think it was great.
Yeah, they ended up, believe it or not, the final number ended up exceeding 11,000. So that was pretty cool. It was, and my thing is it was great for business. It shows that, I know everybody likes to say, it wasn't, to me, it didn't have to be anti-WWE.
No.
This, to me, was just a great step in general for pro wrestling.
Well, the less they made it anti-WWE and just made it a standalone product, the better it worked. It was convincing.
Well, I know, but you know how, on Twitter this week, there was a lot of, this is anti-WWE, or, this is and I'm like, I get it. WWE's not for everybody. And I'm about to make an argument here that All In's not for everybody in a minute.
No.
And it doesn't have to be. You can stand alone and make your product as good as you can possibly make it and do fine. In my opinion, there's plenty of room for Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, something
Well,
like All In.
I think the people who just want to see a show because it's anti this or anti that, or that's the minority of people. The majority of people just want to see good wrestling. If I get a chance to go to an Impact show, it doesn't matter to me that it's or it's against the WWE. It's just I'm going to see that for their talent and their presentation. I'm not in this concept where we're all constantly rivals with each other, and I don't think they'll thrive if they just look at it like a rival, like they're trying. You can't compete with WWE for what they've got. They've too much money. Well,
I mean, even Joe Koff recently was a Ring of Honor's top guy, was basically on the record saying, I'm not going to sit here and tell you there's an impending war between Ring of Honor and WWE. He's like, we're just going to focus on our product and put out the best product. I think there's room for both of us, and there's plenty of market. Mm-hmm. I think back in the heyday of, the Monday Night Wars of everybody, but I'm just going back just this year, NWA, WCW. I mean, there was plenty of room for both of them to be there. Now, granted, it turned into a war that killed off one company, but that's neither here nor there. But even back in the territory days, when you had so many territories across this whole country, like I said, there's plenty of room. And I think that's kind of where we need to get, because the hate on Twitter for both, like I said, the anti-All-In, the anti-WWE, the pro-verse, all of that. I mean, sometimes literally, let me put it to you this way, and this is going to not sound, it's not probably going to sound good on my part, and I'm fully aware. I'm not sure that if I didn't run the Twitter for the podcast, that I would be on Twitter.
Yeah, I actually got really close. And I'm not going to say to just pulling out of Twitter altogether, but I'm like, I don't want to look at Twitter. Because Twitter became to wrestling what Facebook was to politics. And it disgusted me. Because it was just a bunch of people that have opinion, just like Facebook politics. My opinion is the only opinion that's right, and I'm going to force you to accept it. And the other way, no, my opinion is the only thing that's right, and I'm going to make you accept it. And it was just a bunch of dicks. I didn't care for it. I tried to migrate away from Twitter during this whole thing because it was unpleasant, and I don't want to sit on unpleasant social media.
I mean, really, if it was not, and we don't mean to, I don't want to say it kind of sound corny, but if it wasn't for guys like Jay-Z, Flair, and that whole group that you get involved with, the guys over at the Dorks, obviously, Lewis, even, our buddy, he goes by Maverick Deals, Greg, that are positive, that try to keep everything upbeat and not negative. That's why you're still on Twitter, to be honest with you. If those guys weren't there, making it humorous, at times even, like I said, that's kind of the Jay-Z Flair thing, is it keeps it humorous and makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to see his pictures from Starcast, because I knew he would go out and meet interesting people and do cool and funny stuff, and that's what I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch hatred or all this combativeness. He got to go out there and just have fun at Starcast and enjoy it. His wife bought a belt. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love seeing people going out and having fun at wrestling, not somebody, I'm going to criticize this.
Well, you say all that, and now I'm about to sit here and do the same. I always joke. When I criticize, I'm not criticizing in the sense of like most people where it's not, it sucks, or it's, it's the best thing ever, because the pay-per-view All In was really good. I mean, I preface by saying that there was lots of things that I really liked about it. And, I had a friend of ours, Jack, and I have this little saying that we say to each other, and it's always funny. Overrated doesn't mean you're not good. It just means it's not as good as everyone's making it out to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I fall with All In. All In was a very, very good pay-per-view. Was it one of the better pay-per-views this year? Absolutely. Do I think it will go down in history a little overrated? Yes. And I think it will be because of the novelty of it and what people want it to be. I mean, that's kind of, sometimes we want things to be even better than they are. And that happens. And that's okay. Trust me. Many things in my lifetime that I look back at and go, and they are probably in my head better than they really were. Trust me, I was married to another name, and I'm not going to say that. So anyway.
Well, look at it. It's like going back and watching your childhood favorite movies. And you look at them, it's like, because there are movies that Melissa, my girlfriend, has seen that I haven't. And she's like, you got to see this. And I look at it and it's like, that's, why do you like that? That's dog shit. And then,
dude, I've seen the stuff she watches on TV. I ain't surprised.
Okay. Well, a lot of it's the movies you and Billy and all them that treasure so much that I haven't seen. Or something I've seen as a child and I thought was great and the greatest movie ever. And I go back and it's like, oh, that's really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Not everything translates. It's all that's important is your memory of it and how you see it.
Well, let's go through that, man. Let's go through a little bit of, what went down at All In. I'll give you kind of just some takes that I took away from it, obviously. Stephen Amell is a phenomenal athlete, whatever nobody says. I mean, he had a couple moments where I'm like, is he green? He's not a wrestler, by the way. He doesn't claim to be. But he's pulled off, that table spot that he pulled, diving to the floor, the coast to coast. I mean, things like that goes to show you just how phenomenal of an athlete he really is. And in my opinion, it's one of the few celebrities that you go, he belongs in there. I mean, he's earned his spot to be in there.
Yeah, he's a solid athlete. You see that from his show when he does physical. I mean, there are not just stunt work on his show where you can tell where he's showing off, where he's working out or doing stuff like that. His character is a believable, combative badass on Arrow. And, it's different. Pro wrestling's different than training for fighting or training for stunts. Because it's nonstop. There's no second takes. You got to get it right. But he is great. He is probably the celebrity of I'm not going to say our generation, but he is the most current celebrity I think that can transition back and forth into a wrestling ring and out.
Yeah, and I just think, like I said, he's earned his stripes. I mean, being friends with Cody probably got him on the show, but I think he earned his spot, and that was to me was really cool, especially from a comic book guy, like me. The Chris Jericho, man, ultimate promotions guy, consummate marketer, pulls off the surprise of showing up and attacking as Pentagon, attacking Omega was just, I mean,
I can't get over him still.
He'll always make you pop, man. He always figures out a way, even if it's nothing. Let's be blunt. This was an easy way to shamelessly plug the Jericho Cruise as what this was, and it was an oh crap moment. And this pay-per-view needed one of these. I mean, it's part of wrestling, so it needed one, and they got one in.
Yeah, he's. I just got my Chris Jericho Funko. That was on sale at the WWE Network. It just came a couple days ago. And I had to put it on there because I wanted to just have Funkos of people I really like. I got guys from my childhood. I've got cartoon guys. And I had to put Chris Jericho in there into that group of people I wanted their Funko because he's just that cool. I mean, I keep seeing these, your top 4 wrestlers of all time. I keep seeing these Mount Rushmores of wrestling. How could you not put Chris Jericho in there? Because he has managed to stay relevant for 20. God, it's been a long time since he's been relevant. And he's relevant on multiple promotions. He was on WCW. Okay? He was on Smoky Mountain. Wherever he goes, he's a top guy. And he always draws, and he can come back at any time. He can walk right back into WWE and be one of the top guys going. He's just that good. One of the best of all times, if not. Now, his ring work is not what it was 20 years ago. But his mic work.
I would make an argument for that, man.
No, I'm not saying it's bad.
No.
90% of the people.
What my point is now maybe he's working smarter and not harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, but this guy, he's awesome. He's a storyteller. He draws heat. He knows how to bring eyes onto a promotion. regardless of what it is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what, the whole gimmick was. I'm going to go ahead and cover, the main event. It was cut short. It's gone on record. It wasn't their fault. So the match, basically, in my opinion, is everybody's talking about it was so great. It was very good. I'm not even knocking that in the least. I just felt like they had to go way too fast because they cut so much time out of that match. I mean, it literally was half of what it was supposed to. It was under half what it was supposed to be. So it was a great big car crash. Everybody was trying to get their shit in, which is, I get it. Again, I'm not knocking them. So I probably don't think it was as good. And again, I'm not telling you it wasn't. I'm telling you for me, it was a little too fast, and that's just my opinion. And then there's two things, there were two things on the show that I was pretty negative on. And that's just, it is what it is. And everybody's obviously knows probably one of them. But the other one was, I've interviewed Hangman Page. Love the guy. He's so talented. Remember we just said about Chris Jericho working smarter, not harder?
Yeah.
That spot at the end of that match off of the ladder, basically, I was just like, dude, I get it. That I totally understand kind of what they're going for. They needed the holy shit moment on the card.
Yeah.
Dude, that's stupid. People are getting paralyzed. People are getting concussions now. And I get that you're like, oh, well, it can be quasi. That spot ain't safe no matter how you slice it and dice it coming off a ladder through a table, hanging a guy upside down.
Yeah, I don't understand the risk to reward ratio on a show like a stunt like that.
Well, I get it though. It's like a WrestleMania. It was their WrestleMania. WrestleMania for indies is what it was being billed as.
Yeah.
So they needed that. You don't want to call it. It was their all-in moment. It'll be one of those like, oh my God, And guess what? By the way, Chris Jericho gave you one with a code breaker. He didn't have to come off of a table. So that's kind of back to my point of smarter, not harder.
That's I was going to say, we were talking about. You said how fast that last match was, but that match. Trying to get all your shit in, everybody going fast, and even though it was shortened, if that match needed to be at that pace for that kind of match with all your luchadors, if you try to make that a 20-minute match. But
no, I can break it down for you on the math though, man. The damn thing went 11 minutes. There's 6 guys in the match.
Yeah.
Okay, that is under 2 minutes per guy to get their stuff in. When you do the math on it. Okay, that ain't long enough. That's why why a 6-man match needs to go 20 plus, because that way everybody gets at least 2 minutes to 2 minutes to spotlight. And I know they all got their stuff in, but that's why I said it was just like boom, 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 boom. They couldn't stop. They couldn't slow down because they were all having to get their stuff in so quick. By the way, loved the Wolverine gimmick, the costume by Ray. Ray always does shit like that. And I'm like, dude, that might be one I'd actually look at buying. If I could get my hands on it, kind of how like Conrad chases down Ric Flair robes and crap like that. That one would be a pretty cool one. He's done a couple like that where he's done like the Flash and the Captain Americas and stuff. I would, if it was reasonable, I would think about it because it was pretty badass.
I'm telling you, man, we cannot get into the memorabilia business collecting that stuff because it's just like the figures. I won't collect them either because once we start, it'll be all our money.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean,
yeah,
it's hard to justify for me. I can't get involved in any more collections.
Yeah, I mean, I barely have enough, keeping up with the comic books and stuff like that. So you're probably right.
I hate to be that guy, but I'm like, it's just too much. Now, the danger spot, okay. The Hangman Page that you're talking about. Do you think that was it in the right place for that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, that's my argument is I don't know if there is a right place. I mean, but as far as spot on the card, the whole card was booked kind of weird. I mean, I guess, which like the Cody, I get now, like in hindsight, why the Cody match was early. Clearly because he was doing the producing and stuff backstage, and they kind of, I guess that got him back there quicker to kind of do the rest of the show.
Yeah, because what was the guy from, Joey Mercury was his name. Jamie, what's his name, who was supposed to be, one of the producers to help Corey was found asleep outside a Illinois hotel and in his car, and they called the cops. And the cops came and found out that he had warrants in Florida and arrested him. Jamie Noble.
No, that's Mercury. I think Joey Mercury's
No, but Jamie Noble was his real name.
No, that's two different people. Joey Mercury and Morris were a tag team. Noble is the hey, idiot, come on over here and get down in there. Two different people.
Was he okay? He was the one that
Mercury. It's Mercury and Morris. Yeah, he was an agent as well.
Okay, well now he was
probably helping out. Yeah. But like I said,
you got to get a hotel room for your agents for these shows.
You would think, right? Well, let's get into the. Like I said, this one's going to be obviously the one everybody's talking about out of this whole card. Cody Rhodes wins the NWA World Title. I don't know what that means, but that's a conversation for later.
Did I dust it? Hey, yeah.
Well, and that was just it. Obviously the NWA had to be okay with this. Billy Corgan and the guys, whatever. Of course, the joke is, what is the NWA right now? That's a whole conversation that's separate from this.
Well, you said if you were Billy Corgan and you're like, okay, I can be on you can make my title the highlight of your show if you can do what you want to with it. It was a deal. He got a good deal. He got all that press for his title by letting him use it as the highlight of the big show. I think it's great.
Well, and as we pointed out, Cody winning this title, was all done for nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock. And because everybody hears those kind of things, this is what's weird about wrestling. Some people take everything so personal. I'm like, dude, that's not a knock. We're going to get into something later that on Raw that was totally done for nostalgia. But guess what? Sometimes it needs it. This was a nostalgia moment. Again, this card gave you pretty much everything. It gave you the fast-paced six-man. It gave you the big match between Cody and, Nick Aldis. And it's all these little pieces that gave you different stuff. It gave you a comedy match, or a comedy spot, which I thought was absolutely stupid. But that's coming up. We'll talk about that later. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna talk about the penises.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not.
So you're not gonna talk about it?
No, because I think it was that stupid, and I'm not a Joey Ryan fan, and I get it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you my opinion, and that's
so you didn't think the dick spot was necessary on the show?
I get why they did it. It has its place, because I tell people that all the time. Joey Ryan has a place. It's just not on the card that I want to watch. I'm not going to pay to see Joey Ryan, but I don't have a problem with Joey, if that makes any sense.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I would actually pay to see Joey Ryan. It's not going to be like, I'm not going to give a whole bunch of money, but I would pay to see him if he was on a card locally. He's not a main event guy for every show for me.
He's a dirtier version to me of Santino Marella. Like, it's, what I mean? And what I mean by that is that's
Val Venus. I see no difference between him and Val Venus.
Okay, and I'm not going to disagree with that, and that alone proves my point. Val Venus to me wasn't a main event guy either.
No.
He wasn't a big draw. He was a piece of a puzzle. And if that's what everybody wants to say, like, oh, you were okay with Val Venus in WWE? Okay, then let's put him on the same level in my mind. And again, I'm not Jim Cornette. I don't think he's killing the business, and I think the dick spot's completely ridiculous. But okay, if some people want to pay to see it, I'm okay with that. That's prerogative. I mean, I go to indie shows that people don't want to go to. I go to the WWE shows which people don't want to go to. I go to so I'm okay with that. Again, it's back to our original point when we started the show. You're not wrong. I'm just like, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the whole NWA title thing. Back to that point, me saying it was done for nostalgia, so we could have the first father-son combo winning the NWA title. It drew tons of attention to that belt. Now my negative is not really a negative to Cody, but Cody's not resurrecting the NWA title back to, he made it relevant, but it won't be prominent because I can't see him. I don't know that I'm not saying he won't keep this title, but I don't know what Cody benefits from keeping the title because his Ring of Honor and his New Japan, partnerships, I guess from that point on, I don't know that they want to prominently put that title on there Or does this just basically lock up bookings for Cody when he's not in Ring of Honor New Japan? It helps him go to championship, because I've already seen David Marquez and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Boom, he's already booked.
Well, that's the thing. I thought he had an exclusive contract with Ring of Honor. So
no, he clearly doesn't, because he's wrestled other places.
That's going to supersede this because he has that belt. I like the fact he's got a belt that can be defended in other places, but it doesn't hurt anything for me to have the belt on him. I think it's great, and I think it gives more credence than the belt could have. They just don't have enough money to put it at a prominence point like the WWE Championship. Yeah.
And that's, and like I said, maybe it's just a point to where it gives him bookings outside of when he's not working Ring of Honor in New Japan. Maybe that's it. So kudos for that. I don't knock it. And clearly he'll probably show up at the 70th anniversary of the NWA show in Nashville. We may have to try to make that trip.
Yeah, Nashville's not that far.
It's really not.
That would be a good trip.
Yeah, I completely agree. But my next question comes down to, and we're going really long on All In, a lot longer than I thought we were going to. Everybody says now that All In's over, what now? What now for Cody, the Bucks, for Omega? What does that mean for Ring of Honor and New Japan down the road? And what I mean by all this is everybody, they, after the show, they've kind of led us to believe now that they're going to stick together. They're going to kind of, going forward, they're a unit. They're not going to split apart and some of them go to WWE, some stay with. First of all, I don't know that I buy that, because money talks. And I know that everybody said, Meltzer is the one kind of reporting that, they're saying they're all going to stick together, but we've had this conversation before, and this is where I want to ask you about being financially irresponsible to your family. If the Young Bucks are thrown, a multi-million-dollar contract by WWE, but maybe they're not ready to give it to Omega, or maybe they're not ready to bring Cody back, which, they'd be idiots if they did, but whatever. But if they didn't, are the Bucks being irresponsible? Because, we saw at Starrcast, they've got little kids. They've got wives.
That's the toughest question, man. What would it take to get you to betray your friends?
Well, I don't think it's a betrayal. I think you can go to your friends and say, guys, I'm being offered as much money, if not more, than we made last year. And
didn't we just agree to stick together?
But did they? This is the Meltzer report, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, good.
So, we don't know that this is factual, I guess. I'm just saying, but so there's a come a point when you have to look at somebody else and say, man, they're offering me 5 years, huge money, and say like I'm making as much, if not more, than we made, and I don't have to do squat but show up and work.
Yeah, what they're doing is great, but it's kind of a novelty compared to the WWE. I'm sorry. It's never going to make them Vince McMahon. It can make them a lot of money, and it might make them relevant for the rest of their lives. I can't say it's going to make them rich for the rest of their lives. Vince McMahon rich. If that's what they're looking for, if not, if they're just, if they're happy to keep things the way they are now, that's great. As far as going to the next level, I think it might take coming up, Well,
what I'm saying about it is, you don't have to promote, you don't have to go out and find your own bookings, you don't have to worry about, Hot Topic and, kind of your merch and designing if you're that confident in yourself that you're going to be like, look, we can get behind the machine or get the machine behind us, how much more merch can we sell on WWEshop.com or how, that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
Promoting, some point becomes, man, you know what? I just want to go home 2 days a week. We live here in the States. I don't want to go back to Japan constantly. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way, because it's a really cool thing, especially to be stars like that over there. But it's just the opportunity to say, like, I want to be home. I want to be in the States more. I want to be making the guaranteed money. don't have to worry about merch, and I don't have to, if it sells, they're going to give me a big royalty check, and on and on and on, but all that kind of included. That's just my take. Sometimes, and again, I don't know what that number is. It might be $2 million a year per person. It could be, who knows? Who the hell knows? But Austin always calls it, there's good money and there's retirement money.
Yeah.
And those are two different things you kind of start looking at, especially if it's locked, guaranteed for 5 years. And Omega, as much as everybody says, which we'll get into later, to be the best wrestler in the world at some point, and everybody says you don't have to always, you do. I think everybody eventually needs that WrestleMania moment because, contrary to popular belief, you don't need it in the sense of like, but you want it to solidify your career.
But what's the deal if they bring him in and Vince books him like some of the other guys? Not Vince books, you know what I mean? They bring him in, it's just like, okay, we've got him. We didn't really want him, but we had to get him as a financial thing so somebody else wouldn't have him. How are we going to book him? I don't like that. I don't like the fact that they could bring him in and just sit him.
Well, I don't think they can.
I'm not faulting him for that, but do you think he's the one that's big enough that the WWE would have to book him like the way the fans wanted him to book?
I think that WWE is becoming to a point where they've got to understand there's a wave of wrestlers soon that are going to go away. And they need to start building. Well, they're going to lose a lot
of talent. Yeah. Because most of the guys are pushing our age right now.
I'm just saying so eventually they've got to start grooming that next level. And if, and it's a chance to prove, is this guy the next guy, then we'll figure it out. Because, there are lots of times they've gotten behind people. But my thing is, I do worry if they took pieces of this puzzle, the Bucks and Cody would really hurt Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Omega would really hurt New Japan. I don't think that the Bucks and Cody hurt New Japan as much as Omega would.
I agree.
And Omega doesn't hurt Ring of Honor, to me, hardly at all, because he's not there regularly. He's a New Japan guy.
He's not. Yeah, he's mainly New Japan.
So, but if WWE made one big, huge swoop in, and because apparently Hangman Page is in this group they're talking about, if they took Page, they took Cody, they took the Bucks, and they took Omega, and just signed them as a group, I think Ring of Honor is probably hurt the most because of losing Page, the Bucks, and Cody. And I think New Japan would be fine. I know this sounds really weird for me to say that, but I just think they would be fine even if Omega left. It would hurt their expansion to the United States.
Yeah.
But I don't think it hurts them in Japan. I think they're on a roll in Japan.
No, nothing's really going to hurt them in Japan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's Japan. They're fine there.
Yeah.
They've been fine there.
But man, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. I mean, we're heading into the end of the year and contracts are coming up at the end of the year and we'll kind of see where we go. One of the last notes I had out of StarCast is a quick note. We talked about our thoughts on CM Punk for the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you. But, when he was booked for this appearance at Pro Wrestling Tees, and apparently it did really well. So it's going to contradict what we're about to kind of hear, the rumors are, is that he was booked because everybody thought, he's hometown guy. It'll be a good pop. Everybody will be behind him. Well, apparently there was, in several settings, including, Marty Scurll had the karaoke party thing for StarCast. But when he mentioned CM Punk's name, boos rang down and Colt Cabana chant started. I'm obviously all stemming from this lawsuit between the two that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Is the luster wearing off of CM Punk? Because we talked about this. Don't be a bad friend. And that's kind of the question. Has this lawsuit, Colt having to sue him for money, is this the luster wearing off on CM Punk?
Yeah. I think people are starting to CM Punk for what he actually, his point in this whole world picture of wrestling, that he's not a positive. He does not bring more to the wrestling business than he takes away with his attitude. And people will recognize that eventually. And his best friend, having to sue him, will probably drive a lot of that home. It's going to be different. It's going to get to the point where people are not going to care for him anymore, and nobody's going to really want to work with him or book him. And he's going to do it to himself. There's guys in history that have isolated themselves from the business because their attitude or something this or something that. So I think he really needs to consider the fact, whatever he's doing, if he wants the fans, he's going to have to do this differently because the fans are starting to sour on him. That's just me.
Yeah, and we've said it for a while now that, until Punk's ready to come back to wrestling, we thought the fans should probably let it go. And I'm not saying this is the case here. I think people are just saying, like, dude, you're just being a crappy friend. And we've said that for, there's nothing worse than being a crappy friend.
Yeah.
So, well, let's move on to another guy that's kind of got a controversial attitude in wrestling right now. Impact Wrestling, Sami Callihan had an interesting week this week. Apparently, during an indie show that he was working, he tried to use the venue's plastic folding chairs for something. The venue people said don't. I think there's just a huge miscommunication. I don't have a knock on this. This is not a knock on Sami Callihan, by the way. Mm-hmm. This is just that it apparently broke down and the promotion almost lost the venue. Security came into the ring to escort him out. Callihan thought it was part of a story, started getting physical with security, and then apparently one of the guards eventually broke down to telling him he had a gun and he would use it.
I don't think that booking Sami Callihan on a show like that, where you don't have a big venue and you don't have things set up and you don't have, I can see booking him on TNA because they've got that all straightened out and planned out, and they've got security. That's normal. But if you've got a small show where everything you own could be on the line and you don't have a corporation, I don't know why people would bring him in at all.
Well, he's a draw. I mean, hence that's his Twitter handle, the draw. But I just meant, like, hey, how did we not communicate this better? To me, this is a venue problem. This is the venue promoter problem. When you book Sami Callihan, you know what you're getting. Yeah. You're getting one of the most controversial wrestlers, in the business right now. And I mean, I'm like, hey, somebody wants to have this conversation ahead of time. I would have everything laid out before I even started. It's just too dangerous, Simple question. Hey, Sami, you got any crazy shit planned for tonight? Yeah. Just let us know, dude. Venue's not the most applicable group, they're not really amicable to craziness. So we just kind of want to know what you got going on ahead of time, if that's possible. I mean, if you can get that stuff, if you can take care of it and handle it, sure. But if you're not that well planned or not that well orchestrated, I wouldn't bring him in. It's just not worth it. I'm 100% with you there. Let's swing to the other pendulum, man, all the way from one of the crazy heels in the business. Recently on WWE Photo Shoot, I actually watched this episode, by the way. It's a really good one if you haven't caught it. It's Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair. Ric Flair made the comment that Ricky Steamboat is the best babyface of all time. And Ricky I was Steamboat, curious. Best babyface of all time. And that's coming from the best heel of all time. Yeah, I mean, that's the question. Is Rick right? Is Ricky Steamboat the greatest baby? I mean, because when we say babyface now, by the way, I'm talking true white meat babyface. I mean, because he's as pure and as non-controversial and as popular and no problems with him that I can think of. Was there ever a Ricky Steamboat controversy? I mean, not that I'm aware of course, but he was around in a time when there wasn't the internet. So, as far as the dirt sheets, they weren't as bad. So, but overall, no. I mean, he's, like you said, I mean, he was consummate. He was babyface through and through. I'm thinking, and I can't think of anything heelish he ever did. I can't think of any reason anybody would dislike him. He was always positive. He was always a role model type character, ate his vegetables and took his vitamins kind of guy. I mean, great physique, great body. I mean, went through the gimmick for a while where he brought out that, his kid and his wife were with him in WCW. I mean, just like I said, through and through. I mean, think about it. It was when any great feud, first of all, the guy was phenomenal in the ring. I mean, you talk about greatest matches of all times. You think of Chi-Town Rumble versus Ric Flair. You think of WrestleMania 3 versus Randy. So his name comes up quite a bit when you're talking about like greatest matches of all time. So that kind of tells you how he was in the ring. And why were those matches so great? Because the fans loved him so much and wanted him to win.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it. He might just be. He might just be the best of all time. I can't think of anybody who could take that better than him.
Yeah, and we're talking, again, true white meat, baby, because everybody's going to come out and say, like, Hogan or Austin or Rock. I'm like, they weren't white meat, and they waffled back between heel and baby.
But I don't think he never worked heel, did he?
Dude, not in my memory. I think that he might have. That's a good question for Scotty. Scotty over at Wrestler Weekly. We got to ask him because Scotty would know because he's in his prime. He was that Mid-Atlantic territory up in Scotty, but not that I ever remember. Maybe at the beginning of his career, but I don't think so. And then of course, the question's simple as if you think there's who's your pick for the best white meat babyface of all time. Some people might argue Ricky Morton, so I could see that one coming in.
Ricky Morton is the closest I could think, but Ricky was in a tag team, so it's a little bit different.
Yep. So, give us your pitch, who do you think, obviously you can find us at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter. You can find us at Tapped Out Pod on pretty much everywhere, guys. Instagram, Facebook, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. We were just curious who your thoughts were when we heard this all, cause it's always about list in wrestling, right, man? It's always a list.
It's the listiest business there is, man.
Yeah. And of course, one of the most famous lists came out this week. It's the PWI Top 500. To me, it's one of the most anticipated, but one of the most controversial every year because everybody has an argument about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This guy didn't. I mean, and when you saw the years where Roman was picked, everybody went batshit. Now we've got our smart favorite, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
As picked for number one.
Yeah.
Are people happy about that?
Maybe.
I don't think it's just so.
Well, because I don't know here's the thing. They can come up with from year to year, because if John Cena wins, Roman Reigns wins, it's clearly not the most technical wrestler in the world. Is it the guy who draws the most money? Is it the guy who knows? But, I'll go ahead and give you the top 10. Kenny Omega at number 1. AJ Styles at 2, Okada's 3, Lesnar's 4, Seth Rollins is 5, Strowman is 6, Reigns is 7, Cody Rhodes is 8, and Naito is 9, and The Miz is number 10. So 1, 2, and 3, and I don't, again, no disrespect to the saying, these are your internet darlings. Okada, Styles, and Omega. So they take top 3. So there's clearly this, it's work rate, right? That's got to be the great. Lesnar's 4, so there's that. That's out. He only wrestled, by the way, they run, I believe it's July through June is their calendar year. That's kind of why it comes out now. Lesnar had 9 matches in that cycle, and he's 4.
To get that high with 9 matches, he's clearly one of the best.
Well, it's just, to me, the argument to this is just impact on impact on wrestling, the business.
He cast a shadow over the entire business. No doubt about that.
Yeah. Rollins he had an amazing run there where he had some of the best matches on Raw. We talked about it week in and week out, how he was the guy. Strowman's the monster.
Yeah.
He was loved he got around. Reigns is just, because he's so polarizing. He's the new John Cena, in my opinion. The anger, from the backlash or whatever.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about some stuff later with him that I kind of have an argument about that. Of course, Cody Rhodes, we just talked about, won the NWA title. Obviously this was all before that. But he's just doing so many things. I think he's on this list because of what he's done to show outside the business.
Yeah.
Naito, gotta have another Japanese guy, I guess, in there. He's a phenomenal worker. So we're back to work rate. And then The Miz, make that argument. I mean, I think, does he belong there? Sure.
I agree. 100%.
Okay. So, but special shout outs to one of my favorite heels in the business, Mr. Humphrey Jacobs the first from Rocky Mountain Pro, Mr. 495. Congratulations for making the list. Saw it on Twitter and I was like, dude, I cannot be happier.
Yeah. I guess I'm going to have to buy this thing, buy the book. I'll look in the grocery store tonight when I go to the grocery store and see if they've got it on the shelf. Because I quit going to the magazine rack. That used to be my favorite thing when I went to the grocery store to go to the magazine rack, but I just don't read magazines anymore. So I'll have to go look at the magazine rack and see what's out there and buy the magazine. So.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. I want to see 11 through 20. I want to see Mr. 500. You know,
I want to go through every single one of it without cheating it and getting it online. I want to go through and I want to read and see and look for my friends.
Yep. Well, let's jump into somebody who's not on the list as far as I know. She shouldn't be yet, but I'm going to eat some crow here. When we heard that the WWE had signed Kacy Catanzaro from American Ninja Warrior, who we were familiar with because both of our wives, girlfriends, loved this show and kind of, I don't want to say forced me to watch it, but they forced us to watch it.
Yeah.
I thought, what are they, why? And then holy crap, I've seen videos. And I was wrong. That's all I'm going to say.
I just saw Ryan Bowman posted something that she's going to be the breakout star for this whole thing. And I would have to agree with him on that. There's no way I don't think that she won't be the breakout star from all of this.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan, obviously, from over at the Gorilla Position, who, by the way, if everybody remembers, last week we made the big announcement. We will be on their website going forward. Good to be a part of the team. Thanks to Ryan and those guys over at the Gorilla Position for having us on. But man, yeah, I totally saw these videos and was like, dude, I haven't seen her cut a promo yet. So there's still some, and she's only been in this thing like maybe a year. So give her time. It's kind of the whole thing we have, same kind of conversations about Rousey. And I'm not comparing her to Rousey, but I'm just saying kind of in the sense of give her time and let her grow into the character. But, man, just from the sheer physical, seeing what she was doing.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
I'm wrong, and I'm okay with saying I was wrong. So that's just my take on it. And who knows? Maybe someday we're going to see her on Raw, see her on SmackDown. I mean, because like I said, that goes back to the casual fan, man, drawing that casual fan in, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. All In is was for your diehards and for your internet, diehard wrestling fan. And, but guess what, guys? It's still going to take some other people to get the numbers to where you want them to be in draw. And that's what's going to lead us to Raw.
Yeah.
This week, I mean, I did enjoy Raw. A lot of people are dogging on it because it was not the biggest heel driven show that we've had in a long time, that the heels just like walked over almost everybody.
Well, we're setting up for Hell in a Cell. It's coming. And that's a show where you fear your babyface is going to get into that, into there with the brain just stopped. Your babyface is going to get in there with that mean ass heel in a Hell in a Cell, and they're going to get hurt. So, yeah. I mean, that's what they should do. They should get you legitimately fear what's going to happen to your babyface in the cell.
And consequently, or your babyface is going to get in there and they're going to give the heel what's coming to them. Because sometimes you need shows like this where the heels just get, just total dominance. I mean, the beatdown that they put on the Shield, all of the heels coming out and just beating the crap out of those guys. The end Raw. I mean, McIntyre and Ziggler beat the B team to win the tag belts, which I didn't see coming, but I guess now.
Me neither. I thought they were going to leave it on them for a little bit longer.
Well, I think when they went sideways when putting McIntyre and Dolph with Strowman, then they kind of had to veer off and give it, because now, Dolph was fighting for that Intercontinental. McIntyre seemed like he was heading for a world title run, but if you're partnered with Strowman, who's obviously chasing the world title, you kind of need to sidebar them to say like,
if you put gold on everybody in the what's the word? We're got faction.
Yeah,
is that we're going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you put gold on everybody in the faction, it makes them look all imposing, like they did with the Shield at one time. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I said, that beatdown at the end where they stand tall at the end. It's a great build up. So now everybody's wanting Roman to get his, come back on Strowman and get.
But why did they? I just still don't understand why they used the entire staff.
The heels? It was all heels.
Yeah, but all the heels hit.
Well, because the heels don't want. Think about it. If you're a heel, the last thing you want is you don't want the Shield coming back. Because they're going to constantly get you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for whatever reason, they don't like him, whatever. And like I said, but because it was an epic beatdown. I mean, they took him out. They all lay in there. I mean, Rollins, that shot where they threw him off of the stage into the police little van thing, and he apparently shattered the window and it gashed his arm. It left a lasting image of the three members of the Shield laying there, surrounded by all the heels, with Strowman, Ziggler, and McIntyre in the ring standing tall. That's kind of what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And of course, the funny part of this, we had this whole show, it was heel centric, and that was the image that we left with. But the thing that stuck out in our mind the most, in my opinion, Taker and the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels coming face to face on Raw. Done for nostalgia, done for promotion for the Australian Super Show. But God, was it effective? That's all I'm going to say. It was it was effective.
Yeah.
I mean, what I loved about it the most is the reality that they blended in to this whole segment with Shawn kind of, he was picking Triple H for whatever reason. And of course, Taker calling him out on it, saying basically you picked him.
Surprise Taker.
Exactly. Taker's going to, just shows up, made a big deal, Taker being on Raw again. And
because they don't normally just let that not be, they don't let that not be known. They if Taker's coming back, they make it a big deal. The surprise Taker is what got me.
Yeah.
That's what got me paying attention, was the fact that, oh shit, it's Taker. That's the effect that they get.
And on top of that, he cut probably one of the best promos he's done and when we say years, it's because guess what? He's not really on TV cutting promos week in and week out.
No.
So, but like I said, he calls Shawn out on it, saying you only picked him because I took your career. Shawn coming back and saying, there is a respect there, and that's why I'm not back in this business. And the fans start the one more chant, one more match chant, of course. And he was and then it timed it perfect because it gives him the ammo to say, this is what I have to listen to every time I show up an arena. But out of respect for you, I stay away and I'm a man of my word and I'm not coming back. And I'm, because think about it. Ric Flair, Terry Funk, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on and on. All the guys that have lost retirement matches or just retired and they just can't stay away. They come back.
Yeah.
And Shawn has. He has lived up to his word and stayed away. And he could still go. We all know he could still probably go. And of course, that's what a lot of the rumors are, is everybody saying, did they set up Taker versus Shawn down the road? And me and you talked about it a little bit off air. The only place, if this match is happening, it only happens one way and one place. Taker calls Shawn out of retirement and says, come back and face me at WrestleMania 35.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see it. That would be a perfect WrestleMania type thing. I don't know if they really need it, but yeah.
The beauty of it is, you're saying they don't need it. We don't know what they're going to have come WrestleMania 35. Lesnar.
They always do like to go ahead and plant a big crop if they can,
The beauty is plant the seed, and if you need it, because people are hurt, Lesnar's gone, if you don't get The Rock, or you don't, or whatever, you can slowly, you don't have to follow up with it. If you don't need it, you don't follow up with it.
Yeah.
If you need it, pull it.
You could waste it in Australia if you didn't have to have it.
Well, you never know. The thing is WrestleMania is so far away, you don't know whether you're going to need it now until going into it. So just let it go, let it simmer.
They haven't even sold out this Australian show now.
It's an 80,000 seat arena. They think they're going to do like 60 or 70. I think they're going to be okay. They don't necessarily have to sell out at 80,000. In my opinion, I think they're okay, but they're gonna be fine. Don't trust me, Vince. Vince is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my take.
Not like they'll have to be putting up tarps or anything,
No, if you have some empty seats at the top, they're like, hey guys, we had some empty seats at the top of an 80,000 seat arena. We had a problem. Okay, I think it's gonna be okay.
Ryan Satin posted a picture earlier of a tarped off side of last night's SmackDown, where they tarped off the hard camera side. That happens. You don't know. I don't know the venue. You know, it could have been where were they last night?
They were somewhere in Detroit. I remember that. That's all I know.
Oh, so yeah, they may have had a 20,000 seat venue that they just had to get rid of half of it. That's not unknown in wrestling. Hell, it's not like they're running center stage and they're having problems, not shooting center stage correctly.
Yeah. Well, speaking of SmackDown, I mean, now that you changed the subject, I'll ask you, how excited were you to see R-Truth back on SmackDown?
I thought that was awesome. That was great. The funny KG, I'm crazy, R-Truth. You don't look, and then he looks over at Dillinger and says, I'm showing you how to get on the main event of SmackDown. I popped so hard when that happened. That was awesome.
The whole thing, the whole bit with wanting a match with Carmella, acting like Maurice was Carmella, that whole skit, he's hilarious and always has a place in WWE for that reason. Because guess what? By the way, when he got in the ring, he can still go.
Oh, he went like hell, man. He looked great.
So
I was real impressed.
And that's kind of one of my comments, man, is SmackDown, got good wrestling. I mean, they had that match with The Miz. They had, Daniel Bryan wrestled Almas earlier in the card, had a good match. SmackDown's, you were talking about half tarped off things. I'm like, man, to me, SmackDown is kind of like, and this is not a knock, by the way, it's a kind of a compliment to both, maybe. It's kind of like Impact. I think people are kind of sleeping on it. I think it's better than they think. They're always like, oh, SmackDown Live's the B show. They've got good wrestling. They've got the whole AJ Styles, Samoa Joe thing is your diehard wrestling fans bit, that they can focus on. It's super personal. So personal issues. It's not just about the title. It's personal. And of course, last but not least, they're centering the show around Daniel Bryan and Brie versus Miz and Maurice. And why wouldn't you? Because you basically have your casual Total Bellas and your Miz and Mrs. Fans who are going to watch because they think it's cool. Yep. And we pointed out several times throughout the show, the casual fans is what you need to boost your business even more. It's not just about your diehard wrestling fans because they're taking care of that with the wrestling with Bryan and Almas, the storyline with Joe and AJ, and then you've got, this bringing in casual fans. So it's a good strategy all around in my opinion, and don't continue to sleep on SmackDown because I think they're doing a really good job there in my opinion.
They had a rough run there for a little while, but I think they fixed it. I think they've righted the ship. I think they're back in business. So, you never know what you're going to say.
Yeah, we were discussing earlier, SmackDown would be a good place for the Young Bucks and for Kenny Omega to build that brand when it goes over to Fox. I'm just saying.
Oh, Nick, you didn't just say that. That's an incredibly good point. If you wanted to blow up that show on Fox, that would be the perfect time to do it, to bring those guys in, because that would bring all your smarks.
If it were me, you want to really blow up the world? The club's already there. AJ's there. Move Finn Balor over, and then bring in Kenny, Cody, and the Bucks. You know why? Who's the real Bullet Club?
Yeah.
You start mixing all those pieces around and start fighting over control of the Bullet Club. Like, you take what they're doing now, what they did with Kenny and Cody for control of the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
And add AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and the club to the mix, and let all those pieces have a little circle of issues.
I think that's just dynamite. I think that's probably a really smart booking idea.
I don't think I can do better than that. I'm going to leave the other topics that I thought I was going to talk about. I'm going to completely leave them off.
Just drop it.
End it there.
Run the credits.
Yeah, roll credits, right? That's kind of the cool thing. No, I'm just kidding. The only other thing I did want to bring up, and I know we talked about it a little bit, the Mixed Match Challenge is returning September 18th. It's just money, man. This is just money for Vince. This is all this is, right? It's just...
Dude, those shows had incredibly high viewership on Facebook Watch.
Well, they had to do well or Facebook wouldn't want it back, right?
They're in the millions. Those views were in the millions. I went and looked the other day and checked out the numbers, and some of those shows were like 6-7 million, and that's not on. Okay, this is not on you're big, like a network. It's on Facebook Watch. The reveal for the teams released 16 hours ago, Nick, has done 962,000 views. Okay? The reviews for the teams. Just the release on who's going to be in it. And
that's our point. I mean, it's all done for money. It's all done for, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's a great thing, to be honest with you. It's smart. You know, we're talking TV deals. We're talking all these other things, Facebook Watch, YouTube channels, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, you know, WWE.com, you know, WWE Network, everything's built around, you know, one thing or another. And I'm honest, you know, I know a lot of people groaned about it returning. I thought it was pretty good. There were a few matches that I really dug, and there's some really good teams in it this year. But as we said about us, several things throughout this whole show. I mean, if you didn't enjoy it, it's not for you. I mean, just don't watch it. Because God knows you've got to go out of your way to watch it. It's on Facebook Watch.
Yeah, that's the thing. Remember, you got to go out of your way to watch it, and yet they still average 3 to 4 million people per show. That's more than watch Raw or SmackDown.
And wasn't it usually, it's all it is like a match. It's like usually like one match per week on Facebook Watch.
That's all you get. One match a week. You can watch it anytime you want to. You can wait till the whole season of Mixed Match Challenges. They did it again. Damn. We're not even finished talking. I've already not been able to say it. You can wait till the whole season is over and go back and watch it all at once. If you're at work, say, I'm bored. I don't have this opportunity because I don't have the internet at work. You can just pop over there and turn it on and watch a match. Just like that. It's that easy. It's brilliant. I don't see how this is not the distribution of the future. You know?
If nothing else, it's an alternative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good place to put things out there. We've joked about, is 205 Live eventually a Facebook Watch? You know, or something like that. I don't think so, because NXT and 205 kind of are what two of the original contents to drive, you know, to the network itself.
We're in a situation where we have to be careful about that, because it's a great thing so far, but it's only been one match. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How do we do, if we put a full hour show on there, will it blow it? Will it ruin the whole thing? I don't know yet. So that's something we're going to have to see how it goes.
Definitely. Like all things in life, I guess we just have to see how it goes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, man, anything else you got? Any notes or anything like that we didn't cover?
No, I'm pretty good. Get out to as much live wrestling as you can. That's the easiest way. If you're a wrestling fan that's tired or stagnant, or you got, you know, you're just like, oh, this and these guys, blah, 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 blah. Get out there. Don't be that guy who sits at home and criticizes wrestling. If you need to get out there and get the shows, because I guarantee the more shows you get to, the less you'll criticize wrestling.
It's just more fun.
Not watch them at home. Get to the shows. That's what you have to do. You have to get out there and experience it in person, and your ability to criticize stuff goes down dramatically when you get in the moment. That's me.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we went out. We had 2 shows this week, this past weekend, and kudos, by the way, friend of the show, Alan Angels, captures his first NCW heavyweight title. No, that's not
his first one.
Well,
he had it.
Yeah, he had it, but it got caught up in the middle. But that's a little convoluted in that story. But yes, this one he's standing tall finally. No controversy or whatever. He's the NCW heavyweight champion. I was glad to be sitting there watching it up close and personal.
Him. Hard ass worker, tough guy. He trains at 2 schools.
Yeah,
he goes to the gym nonstop. He's still got a job. I don't know how, with as much work as he puts in, but I mean, that guy's driven.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes people succeed, is drive.
Yep. He's always making the, doing the drive and making the push and doing the grind, man. That's, lots of guys, need to learn from that, especially at such a young age. Kudos to him. But get out this week, see a show, get to PWI Top 500. Hey, we want to know what your thoughts are on that damn thing too. And we told you earlier, we'll tell you again, at Tapped Out Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. DM us, private message, all your thoughts and things, or of course, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. You can email your thoughts there. Make sure you, by the way, before we get out of here, head over to tappedoutpod.com, the website. Check out everything we got going on in there. All of the shows on the network have their own little tab there now.
Links to everything.
Yep. Patreon, go over, check it out. We put the shows there. We put the shows on, some exclusive content. We put early stuff on interviews. All of the shows have their own Patreon, so do a little search for them. The Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast, the Gorilla Press, and of course us, the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. All of us have our own little Patreon pages. So pick one. Hey, we'd love for you to pick ours. Pick one of the other. If one of the others is your favorite, support them as well. Give them become a little patron on Patreon for us and kick in a little bit of stuff there. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com and check us out there as well. By the way, every channel now has its own YouTube channel, so you can hunt us down there. Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Pro Wrestling Personified, Gorilla Press, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Biggest thing we always ask is, of course, though, go to iTunes, Google Play, iHeartMedia, everywhere. Subscribe to us, subscribe. And, of course, if we'd love for you to give us one of those 5-star ratings reviews. We appreciate it because it's always helpful to get us a little bitty boost to get us going, right? We keep on growing, man. Well,
gotta love it, folks.
Absolutely.
Really does mean a lot to us when you download and we see those numbers and people support us, and it never ceases. It doesn't matter how many downloads we get, thousands or 2 or 3. It's always somebody showing they care about what we're doing here, and I really love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, man, if I've got nothing and you've got nothing, well, what time is it, man?
It's time to tap out.